Hey, welcome back to another episode of Living Free. This is a very special edition. In today's episode, I am going to share one of my favorite topics, which is food. I love food. I am a foodie, which basically means that I am a food snob. Anyways, you are about to watch a video replay for a Zoom that a friend and I did. My friend Rosa Sanchez and I did a few months ago, and we live streamed into Facebook. And we talked about how two Latinas managed to still eat some of our favorite foods and how to eat, satisfying, delicious foods in a way that is healthy and nourishes our bodies. So it's the merging between, cultural, feel good foods and still eating wholesome, nutritious meals. So there you go. That's what this is about. It's going to be a fun episode. Enjoy. Okay, well, hello everybody and happy Friday. I know that some of you may be jumping on the live and some of you may be jumping on later and catching the replay. So first of all, happy Friday. Another week coming to a close and the weekend is practically here. So first of all, I can't even get over the fact that we're in the middle of August. Like how is it the middle of August, right? Crazy. Well, everyone, I want to introduce you to a sweet friend of mine who my heart just loves her so much. This is Rosa Sanchez. And Rosa, you're in California, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you live, mom, wife, all the things, and before we get into the topic.
Absolutely. So hi, everybody. First of all, I love Lily. I've met her through joining our company together. And my name's Rosa Sanchez. I am a mom and I'm married. I have 3 grown men now. And so food is a huge topic in our home. I'm also a functional nutritional therapy practitioner. And I live in Southern California. And I love Lily so much. She just literally makes you happy. Like she's just always smiling. And she calms you and just she's like, hey, do you want to come on and talk about food? I'm like, come on. It's too bad we couldn't. We should have like made salsa and chips or something and had it while we were talking.
Right, that is so funny. Well, and for those of you who are watching on Rosa's page, my name is Lily Ledbetter, and I live in Rockwell, Texas, which is a suburb of Dallas. And I am a wife, I am a mom. I am now a new homeschooling mom. So I'm stepping into a new adventure. And let's see what else. I'm a natural health educator, and I'm also a brand partner for the same wellness company that Rose is a part of. This particular company is basically known for functional beauty, functional nutrition. We're not here to talk about that today, but just so you know, that's how she and I connected. But we have like this sisterly connection in our hearts. And so I reached out to Rosa because I thought, you know what? We are both Latinas. We both have Mexican heritage, and we both love food. So, like, talk about food. Let's talk about, when it comes to like the cultural foods, and no matter what culture you're a part of, maybe it's Middle Eastern or whatever, you have a lot of curry in your life, or whatever it is. It's like, how do we eat those cultural foods that we love so much, but do it in a way that is actually beneficial and nourishes our body and easily digestible? Yeah. But first of all, I feel like it needs to be said, we need to talk about what are some of your favorite Mexican foods?
What is not? I mean, I'll fight anybody. My abuelita's tortillas, flour tortillas, like by far are the best ever in the world. Like, I'll fight you always for that. But one of my favorite dishes, tacos. Okay, there's so many. But one favorite dish that was my favorite that my mom made growing up was chile rellenos. I have now incorporated that in and made it, my own way. And that is the number one dish that is requested like for birthdays, because it's a lot of work and it's really like flavorful and a lot of, great carbs and all that kind of stuff. So it's not eaten all the time, but when it is, oh my goodness, I literally have to now make like 4 chile rellenos each. So it's like my husband and my 3 boys and then me. It's a long, it's a process. So that's
a labor of love is what that is. A labor of love. Yeah. Wow. Well, I have a lot of favorites, but one thing, since you're talking about something that's like labor intensive, one of
Yeah.
my favorite things to make that I don't make often for the same reason, because it takes so long to make, is just homemade enchiladas suizas. So the green enchiladas with not,
Oh.
guys, not the sour cream enchiladas. No, 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 no. Like, I'm talking salsa verde, like so,
Ooh,
and not just making the salsa fresh, but also, boiling the chicken. Then you got to shred the chicken. You got to make all the different pieces that come together. It's a labor of love. And I only do this when I have, it's funny that I typically only do this when I have people from out of the country that come and stay with us, like missionaries or whatever from other places. I'll make that authentic dish for them. But then, like, my closest friends that are local to me that I've lived around for, 20 years are like, you've never made me that. I'm like, you're not that important. I'm just kidding.
I know. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's almost like I think if I post it, people are like, "Oh, didn't get the invite." I'm like, "Oh my gosh." You have no idea.
I know. And another just all-time favorite. Now, this I do eat pretty frequently. I don't always make them. Sometimes I go and get them, but tacos. Who doesn't want tacos? In fact, my son, it was a Thursday or a Wednesday. Don't even remember what day it was, but it wasn't Tuesday. And I was making tacos. And so my son's like, Mommy, what's for dinner? And I said, tacos. And he goes, Oh, is it Taco Tuesday?
I know. It's so easy to have the themes for the day, like less, thinking of like, what am I going to cook? But I mean, come on now. Like I had them yesterday. I'm like, love Taco Thursdays too, you have to. So they're so
Taco
good.
every day.
I actually made one of my favorite things to do is like get zucchini with onions, tomatoes, and jalapenos and like cook that up. And so I made that and then I just did ground beef. And my husband, like, he came to like make his plate and he's like, "Oh, you put zucchini in there?" I'm like, "Trust me, it was so good." He was like, "Oh my gosh, babe, this is amazing." Now imagine if you had potatoes in there and I
Mm.
mean, veggie tacos. I think any type of tacos are so good. So
Was that the taco filling? Because it almost sounds
yeah,
like picadillo.
yeah, it's taco filling. You know,
Wow.
yeah, it was so because I love zucchini, like veggie side dish. It's just so easy to make. So I wanted tacos. I was like, I'm just gonna throw it in with, we throw in all veggies. We throw lettuce, tomatoes, onions. Like, why not have that vegetable in there? So
Yeah, I've not always been a fan of zucchini. Like, it has to be cooked right. It has to be flavorful. It has to be like a good blend of flavors for me to enjoy it.
yeah.
My sisters joke with me and say that I'm not a good Mexican because I don't like avocados.
Oh,
So
you don't?
I've never liked avocados. I don't like guacamole. I don't like the texture really grosses me out. I'm a texture person. I don't
Uh-huh.
like flavor, but I especially don't like the texture. It just literally grosses me out. But it's ironic because I cook with all things avocado oil, like avocado oil, avocado mayo, avocado, whatever,
Yeah.
dressing, like the oil
Yeah.
is fine. Just the texture of the avocado, like, bleh, no, thank you.
You know what? I agree with you because I mean, I have avocado, but I can't have it like the only way I love an avocado is in like salsa. Like if I make it like like a pico de gallo, but I can't have it in a sandwich. I can't have it like it's weird and like other things. And my husband's like, "But you eat it with like," I go, "I know, but it's a texture thing when it's done in that way." He's like, "I don't get it." I'm like, "I know, neither do I," but that's the only way.
You understand me. So funny. Well, so let's talk a little bit about I'm not even sure how to articulate this, but I know that for me there were things that I had to kind of stop eating because of how my body would respond to it. And that an example of that would be beans. Okay, so my body, when I eat beans, goes crazy. I instantly get really swollen, really bloated. The gas bubbles begin. Like, it's my stomach just gets torn up. It is not a pleasant experience. But I also recognize, this is where we're going to get into, like, how do we still eat the things that we grew up with, like rice and beans and tortillas, right? In
Yeah.
a way that is beneficial, that we can break it down properly. I know that the way that beans are made in most restaurants, like when you go out to eat, they're not going through the proper process of, the long soaking method to break down those inflammatory compounds, etc. There's a right way of doing things, and then there's a wrong way of doing things. So
Yes.
what would you say to that?
Absolutely. I totally agree. I mean, I grew up, beans was like our staple. Like my mom's like, Mija, can you make a pot of beans, and then I'd clean them, right? Put in a big pot. But as I went to school, and I've learned that with rice, grains, beans, digestively, they don't sit well with people. And how you can help that is by soaking them, because what happens is there's it's called citric acid, and that prevents you from like absorbing minerals.
Yeah.
So if you soak it, it reduces that. So when you do have it, not only does it cook faster, your beans especially, but then it also helps eliminate that anti-nutrient, what happens usually from that citric acid. So you're able to receive those minerals and those nutrients in what you're eating. And that way I learned after going to school, I did have to remove grains for a while, like beans, and rightfully so, because I was at that point, I'm sure like you, where there was such a healing that needed to happen digestively, especially. And, we don't take the time. We're moms, we rush, and, we're hurrying up and at that time, I was making just not the right choices, and my gut lining was messed up. But when I did start bringing back that in, I was soaking it and even cooking it with broth, which, broth is just such a healing thing for you. And it helped tremendously. It helps tremendously, to help you digest it and properly not have like all that upset that usually happens. And you don't miss out like I need my Spanish rice. Like, come on. Like if we have tacos or we have something, I can never not do it. But I think there is a time in life where, if you do have to remove it. And I did, like, I really did. But knowing like there's ways of soaking and to help me digest it better. Absolutely. Like I'll do that. It's an extra step, but it's worth it.
It's worth it, especially to still be able to enjoy those yummy foods. And yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, I knew that as well, that when you don't soak the beans properly, not only does it have those inflammatory effects with the bloating, etc., but it also blocks you from your ability to absorb the other nutrients that you're eating. So that's a really, really good point. So how long do you soak your beans?
It's different. And I really honestly haven't had a lot of beans, but gosh, I'm sure if you Google, there's so many charts out there that show like the proper time. But I would say, gosh, probably I'm guessing like maybe 5 hours. And then it does cut the cooking time in half when you do cook beans, because cooking the beans, you got to make sure you got to add in more water, and you got to make sure it doesn't burn, because we've burned so many beans before. So it cuts that time in half, and they just cook a lot quicker.
Yeah, that's good. I think the reason growing up I didn't have the negative effects is because we did everything the old-fashioned way. And yeah, I remember sitting down at the kitchen table and like cleaning out the beans, putting them in the colander, rinsing them, then putting them in the pot to soak. And we would soak them overnight. So ours would soak for at least 12 hours, sometimes 24 hours before we actually, boiled them and then did whatever we wanted with them, whether it refried beans or bowl of chowder beans or whatever. And so then fast forward into adulthood, I didn't understand why we did that. I just thought, oh, there's a can of beans at the grocery store that's already ready for me to just pop open and eat.
Yeah.
Right? Or at the restaurant ordering Mexican food, you usually get rice and beans. I'm like, why do I have such horrible like reactions to beans that I didn't have growing up? And then eventually, like you, I learned, I was like, oh, there was a reason why we did that.
Yeah. You're so good. Like we didn't soak it. We just put it in the water. I mean, we cleaned it, the colander, did all that, took the rocks out, like made sure. And then we just cooked it. So that's even better that you guys soaked it. I mean, what we did was a lot better than getting a can of beans too.
Yeah.
So, for sure. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, what other pointers do you have for, yummy Mexican food or any other kind of food? Like, how do we introduce those in a way that is beneficial?
There's the number one thing that, I mean, I think in our culture, it's like tortillas, corn tortillas, rice and beans, right? But unfortunately, we live in a world where it's highly, processed and especially corn, right? It's GMO. And if
Yeah.
you get like organic, even sprouted, I mean, you are getting a lot of those chemicals that unfortunately they put on and don't need to be. But there is absolutely healthier swaps.
Mhm.
And, like I'm sure the Siete brand
Yes.
tortillas, right?
Mhm.
And now, is it like your abuelita's tortillas? No,
No.
no, like let's be real, it's not. But it's like a good alternative to have, especially for myself. I can't, I'm like gluten intolerant. So there's times and moments where like if we're out or we're traveling and I'm like, okay, no, it's a bit too much. And then I'll get the migraines. I'm not like allergic to it where I can't have it. But I did come across, I was with a friend, I traveled with her, and she had these tortillas. They look like my grandma's tortillas. And I'm like, what in the world? She's like, oh my gosh, she made it with tiger nut flour, another flour, and water. That's it. So when I came home, I got it, and I am not kidding. I'll give you the link to it. It's not my
Yeah. I
recipe.
need to know this.
It tasted it was so good. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, it had the texture of a tortilla. And it even, I mean, you could make it so thick where it could be like a sopa. Like, have you had sopa?
Yes, yes.
That was like the taste. And I was in shock. I was like, okay, this is like amazing. This, yeah, you can make it thin or thick. So I love that. And it's gluten free. So
Uh-huh.
like, okay, definitely could do that. Um,
Okay.
Corn, I know there is a company, it's called, I can't think of the name. I don't want to botch it, but it is sprouted corn.
Tortilla Factory? Is that the one? I think
What is
there's
it called?
Tortilla Factory.
I don't know.
Ring a bell?
I have to see a picture, but they do like a sprouted corn.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's really good. But then there are tortillas you can find. It literally is like
Mm-hmm.
just 3 ingredients. Um, and
So, well, I was going to show you a picture.
yeah,
I just ordered this from Thrive. It should be arriving anytime soon with my package, but I ordered organic masa harina to make my own homemade corn tortillas. And there's nothing in here other than just the organic maize. That's it, 100% organic maize. And then all I need to add is basically, oh, and it has dehydrated lime. So that's it. And so the only thing I'm going to have to add is basically water,
yeah.
and texturize it and roll it out. I need to get a, what do you call those things that like,
Yeah, I remember.
with one of those, press my own tortillas. I am such a snob when it comes to tortillas because I love good tacos. And so, and I've grown up in Texas, and in South Texas, we know how to make tortillas. In California, people know how to make tortillas. In North Texas, people don't know how to make tortillas. When we go to a friend's house, let's say that they're having like a get together with a bunch of people, like, it's going to be Mexican night. I'm like, first of all, it's not. I just say this in my head, right? I'm like, okay, set the expectations, Lily. What they're really saying is some version of Tex-Mex. But then you get there and it's taco night and they've got the Mission tortillas from the store. And I was like, no, those are disgusting, number one. Second of all, there's like 30 ingredients in that package. Like, why? It is loaded with synthetic crap that is so bad for you. And they don't even taste good. I'm like, no, the flour or the corn. I'm like, they're disgusting. So I'm so happy to be able to now make my own. And I was just, well, I have a local health food store that does sell good corn tortillas, but I want homemade. I want that freshness because I was just in South Texas visiting family for my sister's bridal shower. And I got to eat that again. And you might have seen a picture that I had shared in my stories of gorditas, which is basically like the corn tortilla, but it's thicker. And then you cut it down the middle and you stuff it. And I was like, oh God, I miss that. So I'm like, how can I make that but make it healthy and clean so that it's good for my body. I can still enjoy something absolutely delicious from my upbringing, but it's good for me.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I love doing. Like when I go out or travel and or I eat something amazing and I come home and just, swap like a couple of the ingredients that obviously are a healthier version and tastes still amazing and great. It's just not filled with chemicals,
Yeah.
So, oh, I love that. So I gotta see, you gotta tell me like
I
how it comes out because I definitely
I'll let you know what happens. It'll be my first time attempting to make my own, but I have faith. I can do this. I got this. You mentioned Siete brand, and one of the dishes that I make. So for those of you who are watching right now, grab a piece of paper really quick and jot this down. It's like super simple and it's so delicious. Like one of my local best friends, she's like, Lily, this is your best dish that you make ever. Now, I don't think it's my best dish, but in her opinion, that's my best dish.
yeah.
And it's the Siete tortillas that are the almond flour ones. There's also cassava flour, but I typically use the almond flour ones. And I'll lightly saute those in ghee to make them soft. At
Okay.
this point, I've already cooked my filling. Maybe I use the Siete red sauce with the beef, or I use the Siete green sauce, the salsa verde, with chicken. That's just my preference. I think beef red, chicken green, And so, for instance, that dish that I made her was the Siete tortillas. I made some ground beef, probably had a little bit of onion, garlic, whatever. Like you can toss in whatever you want, bell peppers, like you decide how you want your filling to look like. The Siete taco seasoning,
Uh-huh.
right? So that's what you do with the filling. And then after you've sauteed the Siete tortillas, then you put the filling in, you roll them up, put them on your baking dish, line them up, etc. When it's all full, then you take the Siete sauce. In this case, it was the beef enchilada, so I used the red sauce, and you just pour it on the top, clean. Like Siete's ingredients are just straightforward.
Yeah.
And then you pop it in the oven. Now, with enchiladas, I do like cheese. I don't do a lot of dairy, but when I'm eating enchiladas, I do want cheese. And so after a certain time of cooking, I pull it back open and I take raw cheese. Like I buy raw dairy cheese at my local store, my local health food store, and I'll shred that. And then I'll sprinkle it on top, put it back in there for like another 5 minutes or so. And then you pull it out and amazingness. It's that simple. It's really not hard at all. And it tastes so good. And you can do the same thing if you want to do like chicken, add the seasoning, same thing. It's the same steps, but then you would do the green siete salsa for that one.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so good.
It is so good.
Yeah, that's one of my other favorite dishes of my mom is her enchiladas. Like it's my family's, they're like, oh, grandma's like enchiladas, but she makes the homemade like salsa. And
Yeah.
hers are it is just dairy. They're just like dairy with the salsa and she puts lettuce, onions, and tomato on top, and then her famous Spanish rice. And oh my goodness.
Oh, so
The
good.
best. It's so good.
I know. Okay. Well, what else could we share? Maybe some pointers.
Yeah, I think too, like when you are starting, because I know when I first like on this journey, and I mean, I came from a standard American diet. It was horrible. I had funfetti cupcakes every morning, and I had tacos every morning, and cooking my tacos in like vegetable oil because it's vegetables. Didn't know any better.
Right?
Right. Yes. So I think one of the main things, and I did have to, it wasn't until I seen an FNTP that she really like I learned a lot about food because I tried every diet. I was like, what I tried vegan, I tried raw, I tried vegetarian. I was doing whatever I could because I just felt horrible. And it wasn't until I literally just brought in whole nutrient dense food and removed. I mean, if you have to remove 3 key things, I think everybody should do in their kitchen is seed oils. Like cook with avocado oil. Doesn't have a tasting, nothing bad. Coconut oil is great. Butter is great. Ghee is great if you can't do, lactose. Absolutely change your oils in your kitchen. for sure, because it's just inflammation that you're causing your body. And omega-3s are amazing for us. And then there's omega-6. We are highly inundated with omega-6 because of like, it's all of those seed oils are in every fast food place, right? So, and not everybody cooks homemade all the time. So
Right.
the best that you can, when you're home, do the best that you can. And the oils will be a huge game changer for you. Conventional dairy, you
Yeah.
know, that's huge. I see it a lot. I was that person, just getting the milk and, even like it says organic, but like you said, Lily, raw is amazing. The
Mhm.
cheese is so good. Like people that are like raw milk, are like, oh, I don't know. No, it's just literally the cows without all the chemicals, how
Yes.
it should be. And then you have the raw cheese.
Mhm.
It's amazing for you. And then processed sugar. Like we have maple syrup, we have raw honey, and you think like it takes a while. Your taste buds do change. It's, you're so used to eating this and you're like, oh my gosh, like, but trust me, if you keep at it and you bring in those good whole nutrient dense foods and remove those inflammatory foods, that's a major change in your
Yeah.
health. That
Yeah.
those are small changes, but you don't realize how significant they are for you.
Yes, yes. We really can retrain our palates. Like think about the green smoothie that you and I drink for for the shed.
Yeah.
The very first time that I ever made that smoothie, because I'm a texture person, that's a big deal to me. The
Uh-huh.
very first time that I made that smoothie with the exact ingredients that it provided, I drank it reluctantly and I was like, okay, well, at least I didn't gag. The second day I was like, all right, I think I can do this. By the third day, I was like, it wasn't so bad. And then after that, I started creating it. Now I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. But I've retrained my palate
Yeah.
to enjoy those things and to desire those things, to crave those things. And if we're constantly feeding ourselves, processed sugars, which even includes, cane sugar, that yes, of course, it comes from the cane, but it's just not going to be beneficial to your body. And I also had to remove a lot of inflammatory foods. Now I was faced with a health crisis. When I received the diagnosis of the condition, I knew that I needed to eliminate inflammatory foods. And so for a season, I did a whole 30 lifestyle. Now I still pretty much eat whole 30 paleo type of lifestyle. Paleo I feel is a little bit more lenient than whole 30. So now I've kind of found a happy medium. And I try not to stray too much from that, but I can enjoy certain things as long as I'm not doing that all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I had to remove conventional dairy for those reasons. Conventional dairy, guys, it causes inflammation in the body. It causes congestion in the body. It creates a mucus environment for harmful bacteria and for disease to thrive. And with the reason raw dairy is actually good for those who can consume dairy is that the things haven't been removed. I think is that the lactase hasn't been removed. It hasn't been pasteurized and hasn't been homogenized. It hasn't gone through the process of stripping it of its nutrients. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're able to consume that kind of dairy without having negative effects from the dairy. And I had to remove legumes, unless, of course, if I want to take the time to do the old-fashioned method of soaking, etc. I had to remove gluten from my life, and I love it. I love pizza. Now, I love a cauliflower crusted pizza as well, but sometimes I just want some good old-fashioned gluten. And I learned also that gluten really didn't become an issue until the mass production of foods. Once the fast food industry came about and once we started dishing out things quickly, to fill up the grocery store shelves, that's when we started cutting corners in how we produced our foods. And cutting corners doesn't help anybody. So now I'm learning how to make homemade sourdough bread.
You're brave. That's the one thing. I have everything to do it. I just am like, like I haven't even started it yet. So I'll be watching.
I haven't tried my first loaf. I went to the class. I have bought the ingredient, I have the starter, but then I bought the flour that she recommended from Thrive Market. That should be here soon. So I'm like, okay, I'm about to make tortillas and I'm about to make sourdough bread. Wish me luck, everybody. Pray for me.
Oh, that's going to be fun. That's so good though. I mean, you have to, we were in the midst of like, I bought everything when we were remodeling our kitchen. So it was like, when you don't see it, you don't do anything. But then I'm like, oh gosh, I'm so scared that, because there's a process. I have a friend that just did it and she was like, it took her forever, but she was consistent. And now like she's showing all her beautiful loaves and all of this stuff. And I think that's amazing to have that instead of going buying stuff, because you really don't buy amazing ingredient loaves at the even
No.
market. Yeah.
I know my local friend that sells her sourdough at the local farmer's market. She is gluten intolerant. She could not have any gluten her entire life. She could not eat gluten. And then she started making homemade sourdough, her and her husband. And now she makes all things sourdough. And she has no
Wow.
adverse reactions. She's making sourdough pancakes, sourdough chocolate chip cookies. Y'all, sourdough chocolate chip cookies are the
What?
best cookies you will ever have in your life.
Are they super soft?
Yes. And they're
Okay. My husband will love that. See, I like to like burn them and put them in the freezer and then have
burn them.
a little bit of burning them. I'll be like, oops, I left it on a little too long, babe. I'm sorry. And then he's like, oh, he loves them soft and just gooey. And oh, see, I need to do this because
Yes, they're so good. She also does sourdough Pop-Tarts. I mean, all things sourdough, like all the things that she could never have because of the gluten. Enjoying in the sourdough version because it's been fermented. It's gone through the process of the fermentation. It actually has healthy bacteria for you, etc. So anyway, yeah, I love food.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I'm going to be like stalking you now and seeing you do that. And then you'll give me the courage to go
You got this.
and then do it. I know, I need to. But one of the things too, before we get off, I know when you start off, it can just be overwhelming. You see like, I got to do this. I got to switch that. I mean, it can feel like a lot, but the people that usually that I get, it's like simple meals, they just want to do like some simple meals and don't try to do everything at once. Like just try to get good breakfast, try that. Even if you have to try that for a month, like try literally eating a healthy breakfast every day and then switch to a lunch and to a dinner. Because I just remember when I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to, like, this is hard. And I know that prevented me from continuing, but I remember just trying to push everything on me. And it wasn't until really I had no choice. Like it was either be really, really sick or get better. And unfortunately it took that. And it was like, I just switched my mindset. I was like, you know what? I focused more on not what I couldn't have. I focused on what I could have. Yes. And I learned amazing things, like how my abuelita used to make stuff, like you can do sauerkraut. I made my own way. Like you learn the things. So focusing on that is huge. It's like, okay, what's a healthy, lunch I can make today instead of like, I can't have this, I can't have that.
That is so good. That's such a good perspective. I also had to shift the way I did life, the way I did food, my personal care products, all that kind of stuff due to a health crisis. It was a health crisis that caused me to do that. And I remember a friend telling me earlier in the spring, we were up in the mountains somewhere. And I don't know what we were talking about, if it was a food ingredient or if it was a skincare ingredient, something related to ingredients. And she said, wow, you're so dedicated to ingredients. And I said, yes, because I remember what it's like to be sick. I remember what I felt like when I had a silent disease growing inside of me. I don't want to feel that way again, So, and yeah, yes and amen to keeping it simple. I also take the approach of adding to your life. So think of it as adding, not deducting, because diet culture tries to tell you, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, do this. And then you feel deprived, you feel overwhelmed, then you fall off the wagon, you feel guilty and ashamed and all those things. And yes, we would love for you to reduce the few things that we just mentioned earlier that cause inflammation in your body, but focus less on, oh, I'm going to do away with these things. In fact, just start adding life-giving things to your life. Start with that healthy breakfast. This morning, when I made my farm fresh scrambled egg, I threw in leftover broccoli from just the other night. I had made broccoli and chicken, etc. And I'm like, I have broccoli. Let me throw that into my eggs. Anyway, so just think of ways to start with one little thing that is life-giving. So add something life-giving, and that's going to make room for more life-giving things. And the bad things are going to start to naturally just kind of get pushed out. And yeah, be a little more intentional about buying better quality. Like if you like dairy, try raw dairy, you know, etc. If you're gonna do legumes, try to soak them, just go the extra mile. Now, again, just choose one thing. Start with one thing so you don't feel overwhelmed, and eventually you'll master the one thing and you'll be able to add another one.
Yep. Yeah. And don't feel guilty. This was a huge thing. It wasn't because I went to school and then I got a program. In this program, the one thing that I absolutely love what it teaches about is not feeling guilty. Because we live in this world. There's birthday parties, you travel, there's things. And I lived this life. I remember trying to do good. And then I'd go and eat something and I would shame myself, like so guilty. And when we put that on us, our digestive system shuts off. So just the stress of like, and the guilt of that, we don't need that. So you know what? Now, like if there's an event or something and I have something, it's like, that was a bomb, but I go back to that where before I used to stress, I come home and it was such an ugly cycle. And of course, no wonder my digestive system was messed up, not only with food, but also the stress that I would put from that guilt. So it's not like, get back at it, just do it, you know, and continue trying and you get stronger and it gets easier.
Yeah, we don't even realize how much stress, which seems unseen, right?
Yeah.
How much stress actually affects our health and how it increases cortisol levels and all of that. So yeah, just remove the guilt, remove the shame, add one life-giving habit at a time. That's gonna naturally just start removing the things that are not serving you, and have fun, enjoy food. Like I always say, because when all of my friends are like, oh, Lily, you're so crunchy. Oh, Lily, you're so whatever, you know, whatever words they use. But I'm like, when it comes to food though, y'all, I don't eat rabbit food. You're not going to find me munching on carrots and celery sticks. I'm going to make wholesome, delicious, satisfying meals, but I'm going to use life-giving ingredients. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love that. Amen to that. I totally agree. We eat.
I'm not going hungry, that's for sure.
Oh, no, ma'am.
Rosa, thank you so much for joining me today. This was so much fun. Anything else you want to say, or should we call it a day?
I think we'll call it a day. I think hopefully, you know, people grasp a little bit of, you know, some of the nuggets that we threw out there and just know you can do this and it does get easier. And your mindset just thinking it's huge on, you know, what can I have? Focusing on that more than what I can have. I think it's huge help.
So good. All right. Take that one takeaway to the bank, my friends, and we will see you next time. This was a fun Food Friday episode. And thank you, Rosa, for being with us. Have a great day. Bye. Wasn't that fun? I hope that you enjoyed this episode, and I would love to hear from you in the comments. So drop some comments and tell me what are some foods that you like to make. What are some dishes that you like to make that you give a healthy spin to? And also, this is totally unrelated, but if you are a woman who is 35 plus, like you're in your upper 30s, you're in your 40s, maybe early 50s, and you are going through perimenopause, you're experiencing things like hot flashes, night sweats, insomnia, oh goodness, weight gain, fatigue, so on and so forth, then I have something very special for you. I created a one-page cheat sheet to help you navigate perimenopause with ease, with strength, and with energy. It's totally free. Just check out the link in the description below and you can grab your copy. Okay, that's it for today. Thanks for joining me for this episode, and I will see you next time.